Hey everyone, how you all doing? Now today we are going to be discussing a set that is the source of much controversy. Now that is of course the 2025 Clone Juggernaut, or the Turbo Tank as we're all going to inevitably call it. It's set to release in the upcoming weeks and it boasts a beautiful redesign with sleek body panels and brick-built wheels. But the price tag leaves a lot to be desired. It's only 813 pieces, but retailing for an insane $160. That is anything but a bargain. And that's not even mentioning the supposedly poor build quality. We've already seen some reviews, and all of them say that this set will fall apart with the slightest mishandling. That is just not good enough. However, it's been nearly a decade since the last rendition of the set came out in 2016, and for many people, this is their first opportunity to add an armored Juggernaut to their Republic army. For die-hard LEGO fans like myself, we now find ourselves stuck between a rock and a hard place. You see, while the classic 2000s and 2010 Star Wars sets have tons of nostalgia, they're sorely lacking on the detail front. So that made me stop and think, surely there's a solution to this devastating problem. And out of that came a mission. If LEGO can't give it to us, then we'll do it ourselves. Can we make a clone turbo tank of modern standards for less than $160? Let's dive right in. To figure this out, I immediately jumped on brickset.com to scour the LEGO archives for all existing turbo tank sets. I was tempted to consult Rebrickable or other mock sites, but thought better of it. I was trying to make the best turbo tank for less than the new set is selling for. UCS size mocks, as amazing as they are not a viable option for many people. After a quick look around, I established that there have been 3 major turbo tanks released to date: 2005, 2010, and 2016. But I wasn't anywhere close to ready for what I found next. Prices for these past turbo tanks, both new and used, were through the roof. $185, $207, $950 for a 2005 set. Okay, that wouldn't do. Determined to find a solution, I hopped over to BrickLink with an idea. Find the parts inventory for the most recent turbo tank, add them to a wanted list, and let BrickLink do its magic. And after a few minutes of waiting, I was presented with 9,706 stores to choose from. Okay. Luckily, BrickLink once again comes to the rescue with an amazing auto-select tool which sorts through all available stores based on your location and shipping preferences and finds you the cheapest combination of sellers to get you all the pieces you're after. When it comes to tasks like this, it's an absolute lifesaver. I couldn't imagine manually adding and searching for all of these pieces. Trial and error with 9,000 stores does not sound appealing to me. I would highly recommend exploring this feature to anyone who is after a specific combination of parts. You can create your own wanted list and let it do its thing. So, the result was a huge relief to my wallet. Compared to the original retail price of $110 back in 2016, the cheapest I could find it being sold as a set was $116. And that was incomplete, no minifigures at all. But by acquiring the pieces this way, I was looking at a tempting $58.11. That's half of the cheapest set listing and nearly a third of what the new set is going to be selling for. A word of warning, however, this price does not include any of the minifigures, as this set is infamous for having some of the most expensive Star Wars figures around. But at such a low price, you could use any extra cash to choose any clones or droids you want, add them to your wanted list, and start building your own mini army. But simply owning an older turbo tank is not enough. While the size and proportions are roughly the same as the 2025 version, it's suffering significantly from a lack of detail and realism. The HAVW A6 Juggernaut, as it's officially called, is a heavy, armored war machine. The 2016 LEGO set feels light and springy by comparison. To fix this, it was time to get building. I opened up BrickLink Studio, a digital LEGO modeling software, and painstakingly rebuilt the entire clone turbo tank with a mouse and keyboard. Not the most tactile experience, I assure you. It took me about 6 hours over 2 nights to construct, and the results look pretty neat. I actually own this set, but it's currently sitting several thousand miles away from me. It's a solid set with good structural integrity. Nothing will be falling apart with this one. At this stage, I plug my laptop in, smash the render button, and watch my poor machine blow up. Just kidding. A quick few minutes later, we had a series of high-quality images to consult. I took a few minutes to study the model from various angles to get a good understanding of the potential limitations and opportunities that awaited me. It was now time for the upgrades. The clone Juggernaut has an extremely sleek and chunky design, with heavy armor plating, Republic red stripes along the sides, and slits for windows. And most importantly, it sits on 10 huge wheels that are hooked into a solid underbody, complete with shock absorbers that keep it on the ground and ready to smash things. This is where I started, taking a look at the front underside and prepared to add some much needed bulk. I continuously reference various images of canon and legends material to capture the look of key elements of the design. Between the front wheels sits this interesting dual cylinder design that I can only imagine would serve to help stabilize and balance the wheels. If you know what these are, please let me know down in the comments below. During this process, I was staying very aware of the pieces I was using. As much as possible, I tried to use common, inexpensive parts to keep the costs down. As I kept fiddling around the underbody, I ran into many situations where my designs were interfering with the suspension mechanism of the set. One of the many reasons I think this is the best turbo tank LEGO has made is due to its incredibly fun feature that allowed you to plow over uneven terrain with each set of wheels moving independently. The whole upper body could also lean surprisingly far to either side to make cornering as easy as a dream. Okay, soon I settled on a design I was happy with. I think it turned out great. Now on to the fun part, the main carriage body. I once again started at the front with a cockpit, or is it the back? There's a big debate on whether this Juggernaut even has a front and back. The vehicle can be operated from either end, making it dead useful in tight situations. I began by stripping the panels down to their bare bones and outlining the window slits. I had a personal issue with how this set dealt with the front panel. As you can see, the studs were approximately half a stud lower than the side panels. So I attempted to solve this by using jumper plates to align the windows, but I was unhappy with the results. It was too complicated and parts intensive, and it just didn't look good. I was relying on the roof section to complete the window, and the angle was just not working with me. But that's when it hit me. To simply raise the height of the front panel by raising the hinge by one plate. This transformed the playing board, and I quickly found a design that flowed beautifully around the cockpit. The windows were now inset as they should be and capped off with a triangular tile on the side to emphasize the cool slit-looking design. As a side note, any original pieces that I removed were placed to the side instead of deleting them in case I found a later use for them. This way I could try to keep as many parts as possible even if they found a home elsewhere in the design. The overall placement of turrets, stripes, and windows on the original set was pretty spot on, but the abundance of exposed studs detracted from their accuracy. In addition, I was significantly bothered by how stumpy the front end looked like, so I extended it by one row of plates from 6 to 7 studs. This dramatically improved the proportions of the set, as did making all the side panels one stud taller. This didn't change the roof height at all, but it did close the gaps between all the panels and gave me a little bit more space to improve the cockpit interior. Once I made these decisions, the rest of the modification progress flowed like water. I tiled almost every surface, adding occasional plates and small greeblings for detail. I kept the projectile shooter side cannons, but I did reconfigure the design to look a little bit more movie accurate. The red side stripes were now complete with an elegant flourish in the form of a small 2x3 wedge plate. I then ran into a small obstruction with my new cockpit design. Because I changed the shape of the side panels, the roof wedges I used also had to change to fit the new angle. Through a little bit of trial and error, I found a good fit and recessed the hinges on top by half a stud using jumper plates. One thing to note is that the round radar module does get in the way of the cockpit roof opening, but to get around this you just simply have to remove the center build and the roof opens up like normal. Up top I kept the original turrets and lookout tower with small modifications to beef them up and fit the new design language. From here on out, I continued in the same vein to bulk this up with tiles and plates, stopping in key places to add some much needed detail greebling. The rear cockpit was a little trickier as these panels must all be aligned at set angles, making it kinda difficult to make a continuous window slit. Lastly, I jumped back down below the deck to mirror the underbody structure on the back and cover as much of the exposed Technic as I could. I used curved slopes here instead of tiles to transition between the slim underbody and chunky upper. At long last, the hard work was over. I had a small pile of about 20 parts from the original set that I couldn't find a use for, but this was actually a pretty good achievement for me. The project was supposed to be a modification of this turbo tank set and not a new build. Now it was time to set this up for the camera and hit render. And now for the big reveal, the new and improved clone turbo tank from 2016. This upgrade design fixes several proportion issues and adds those key missing elements The exposed studs are now all dressed up in some polished armor plating to give us a Juggernaut that rivals the upcoming LEGO release. This would certainly not look out of place in an impressive Star Wars mock diorama. But now onto the question you're all asking. How much does this cost? Well, let's backtrack a bit. We started at a baseline cost of $58 for all 871 original pieces, not including the minifigures, and we added roughly 400 parts to completely transform this vehicle. So the total part count now, including the original ATRT, now sits at 1,360 pieces. And what does it cost? It costs, well, an incredible $103. That's right, that means this build comes in at nearly $60 cheaper than the set you will soon find in stores and includes a far more accurate design with 500 more pieces. That's right, 500. To remind you, the upcoming set number 75413 includes 813 parts and 8 minifigures. Now, if you feel like this misses on getting some of those cool minifigs, consider heading over to the LEGO store and treating yourself to one of the many awesome battle packs on sale. You'll not only get the same amount of figures, but you'll be saving yourself a lot of money and getting the opportunity to choose what you want. So, what do you think of this turbo tank? Is it worth fishing out your old set and breathing new life into it? Chances are many of you have this exact set, or one of the other two already. Or will you be waiting to purchase the upcoming set with Ki-Adi-Mundi, Commander Bakara, and the first ever LEGO Galactic Marines? Let me know your thoughts down below. And for those of you who are thinking, how do I build this myself? Well, don't worry, because I've got you covered. I've taken the time to create digital instructions as well as a full parts inventory and upload them onto Rebrickable.com. For those of you that already own the set, there is a separate inventory sheet of only additional parts you will need. What's great is that you can edit these inventory sheets based on what pieces you already own, potentially making this the ultimate budget-friendly turbo tank. If this sounds like something for you, I've put a link down in the description below. They cost $5 and all earnings will go directly back into this channel to support future content. If you run into any problems, shoot me a message in the comments or on my Instagram. But that is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do, make sure to smash that like button and thanks for watching.